Aaron Lewis from Liberty Norfleet here with Tommy Lepore here from Hello, everyone. Welcome out at what is this? Elite Performance Center, correct?
That's right.
And we are at Ace Baseball Development, which is inside Elite Performance Center with Adam Jansen, who is the founder of Ace Baseball Development. And, of course, we have the guru with us sitting next to me. Finally sitting next to me. We usually see him just on the screen. Kevin Mulder from Prep Baseball Report. Gentlemen, how we doing?
Doing well. It's been a while since we've been side by side.
Yeah, we don't do that much, do we?
No, this is good.
It is good.
Yeah, doing well. Thanks for coming out. We appreciate making the time.
It was a lot of fun. We got some video of some the high-end talent that's going to be populating the GAC baseball conference this year. I mean, wow, folks. There is some tremendous pitchers in this conference. And
wow, yeah, that's an understatement. That, you know, we were talking about we went through some of the top we did the top 10 teams, your top
right.
10 teams, the GAC, and you just could go through every single team seems to have a true ace, and you know, we just got to watch a couple of them there last hour. So it's going to be fun spring to watch, not for the hitters.
If you're I was going to say, if you're a hitter, good luck, guys. But one of the gentlemen that is here with us, Adam Jansen, works with these young men and developed Ace Baseball. It was pitching development first, correct?
It was Ace Pitching Academy whenever we opened up in 2016, and we started having position players, infielders, outfielders, catchers. So we chose to change the name to Ace Baseball Development.
I got to ask you, Adam, did you ever – I mean, I think we all have aspirations of what we want to, achieve in life.
Right.
Did you think you were going to be here?
I did not. I didn't really I was that typical kid who wanted to play pro baseball since he was a kid, and got through college, got through some pro ball, had a couple injuries, and this is where I am now.
I think that's the common bug is injuries,
yes.
Right? So, there's so many guys that have talent, and you've seen them throughout everywhere, and what derails them is injuries. And I think that's the hardest thing. And is that one of the things that is important in Ace Baseball Development is preventing the injuries?
Oh, without a doubt. Teaching these kids it's more than just pitching on game day. The warm-up's very, very, very important. All of our guys go through a very detailed physical assessment, biomechanical assessment. I think it's basically teaching these guys how to take care of themselves before they throw and after they throw, and on the days leading up to a start.
That's key, isn't it?
Yeah, you think about just how much of times have changed, and I talk about Adam or coaches, and it wasn't that long ago when you knew who every kid in the area that threw 90 miles per hour was, and it was a huge deal. It still was a big deal, but now they're everywhere. There's a lot of kids, and there's kids hitting 93s and 95s, and even above that, as we saw the past hour.
All right, let's go to E feet. Same exact. One more there. Oh, yeah. More than that, Adam. Yeah. Wow, that's really
And I think the main difference, just thinking about, when I was in high school and Adam was in high school, it's the training that's changed. And, it's multifaceted thing here is it's the throwing training and then also the weightlifting. And talk about how important that, like the combo of that is, just when you pair those two together, some of the dynamic results you can get.
Yeah, the weight training is, I think, one of the most important things. These guys have to be physically fit. Mobility is a big part. Stability is a big part. These guys are training to prevent injuries, where back in our time, guys would get injured, then start doing the right stuff. A lot of this came from the physical therapy world to help these guys prevent injury. They're also getting stronger. They're also moving better, which is why they're also it's a lot easier to sync up mechanics if you can physically move that way.
Right.
And
go ahead, Kevin. Go ahead. You were going to say something.
No, I was just kind of laughing. I was talking to a scout the other day, and they were looking at one of the high school prospects in the St. Louis area, and it was just me and a couple scouts, and said, "Dang, this kid looks like he'd already be in AA." And I'm just thinking about like how much times have changed. One of my favorite things to tell players is it's boys high school baseball and it's men's college baseball. And certainly that way in professional baseball, and kids are starting to get more and more committed to the weight room. And it's one thing to have skill, but you have to have strength behind it to be able to play at the elite levels. And so that's turned into a huge piece of it in today's baseball.
It's interesting. I'm an old guy, so I remember when we were playing, I was in the early 80s, okay? But one of the school I went to, that was the priority. And we were a top program in Arizona. And if you didn't lift, and it started that way, these coaches had started moving in this direction. If you didn't lift, you didn't play. That was the thing. And I think these movements through the 80s and into the 90s began to really push that. And it was, you were checked off. If you didn't get there, you were sitting a quarter, you were sitting a half, depending, and coach knew about it. And so I think those are the things and the priorities that started to change and shift in high school athletics, maybe not across the board, but in certain places where you were dealing with these things, you saw these guys start, if you didn't play, you just didn't play.
Right.
And I think it was necessary as you look at the movement of sport and how competitive it is, and the idea of getting on the mound and facing a kid in high school throwing 90 miles an hour. I don't remember that in high school.
Right.
I just don't.
Right.
And you grew up in Arizona.
I just did.
It's a baseball hotbed.
The worst thing I saw was a flaming knuckleball, man.
Right. All right.
And those can make you look silly too.
And it did.
Oh yeah. You look up now, and a lot of these better high school pitchers are throwing above 90.
Right.
It's unbelievable. But like Kevin said, it's the training, it's the dedication by the athletes. Just number one.
Okay, yeah. And that's kind of something I wanted to start with here, Adam. And we talked about it a little bit as we were going through this progression earlier. The kids, no matter what, you can prepare a plan, you can put all this stuff in play, you can say this, you can say that, but if the athlete isn't dedicated, it really doesn't matter.
Without a doubt, because you can give them the plan. It's just some kids are more dedicated than others. Some kids find time. We have kids who drive an hour to get here, who train 3 days a week, and we have some kids who live down the street that train once or twice. It's just making that a priority if you want to be a college baseball player, and especially these days, a lot of kids want the Power Fives. They want the big D1s. We try to help them understand what that entails.
Right.
It's all the fine details, and it's consistently, working on the details on a daily basis.
I see a lot of young players. Obviously, I start to get introduced to these players mostly as freshmen in high school, a little bit in 8th grade, and I see some extremely talented and skilled players, and it is really interesting and sometimes fun to track their development over the years. But that same list of top-end players at 9th and 8th or 9th grade is that list looks a lot different in 11th and 12th grade, and it's the ones that buy in and are committed, and it's important to them, not just their dad or their parents or whoever. It's they've bought in, they're putting in the time. Those are the guys that remain on the list from 8th, 9th grade all the way to 11th, 12th grade, and it is kind of fun to watch from afar kids develop. And earlier we were in here earlier, and there's a couple guys on that list like Seth Bennis. Maybe talk about Seth and Adam Hatchman, Jackson Yarberry, some of the transformations they've made over the past year. We're talking about 3 of the top, senior pitchers in the St. Louis area, certainly.
Yeah, I guess Seth Bennis first. He began with us last year, the off season prior to his junior year. I think he put on 20, 25 pounds in the weight room. And it's just a tweak here and a tweak there with those guys. And, his timing's a lot better with his delivery. He's currently working on a breaking ball that should turn out to be a plus pitch this spring. Again, one of the most dedicated kids we have. Eats right, outside of here, sleeps right. I mean, all the stuff that you want, he does. Adam Hatchman, another one. He first came in, I think he was a low mid-80s. Big-bodied kid. High-waisted, kind of baby giraffe, I called him. Again, got in the weight room with his trainer, put on 20, 25 pounds, basically started dedicated himself to every little detail, and he found out how good he can be. And he's still working very, very hard on getting to the next level, and he understands how hard that is, but it's no secret. These guys are in here 4 or 5 days a week, and that's, probably the most important thing.
I think that's important to remember. And I remember seeing Adam Hatchman throw for the very first time. He was 80-84. He was getting outs. He was an out-getter, which is something I've liked about him the whole time because he was a very good pitcher at 80-84. But he's put on a ton of hard work to get where he's at. It just didn't – he wasn't throwing 95, 97, 98, whatever, 100 this whole time. He has earned that, and Seth Bennis has certainly done that. So it just didn't happen by chance. Right. Is that right?
Yeah, and even Jackson Yarberry. I always tell these kids everyone's different.
Yeah.
Jackson was carrying a little bit too much weight. He knew it. He worked his butt off. I think he's probably 15, 20 pounds lighter. He's moving better because of it, where some kids need to put the weight on. So biggest point is all these guys are different. We help to identify their strengths and their weaknesses, and then they go to work.
It's having the weight in the right places, isn't it?
Yes.
Because last year, when I saw him in here today, it wasn't what I saw on the mound last year. It wasn't. Right. It was different. So I got to do this because I'm used to being in the studio. I wanted to give the props to our guys. Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com. YBMcast is powered by Game 7 Baseball. They do a great job. Dave and Dave, go get your team registered, get into some tournaments and whatnot. And then we also have our guys that are outfitting us. We're going to have some gear here pretty quick, some Youth Baseball Midwest gear from the guys over at Prime Sports Midwest.
Nice.
And so we're looking forward to that. And right now, Rick Benz, they said, hey, if you're looking for some team uniforms, you want to get your team outfitted correctly, they're local, they're here, they deliver, they do a great job with uniforms. Been in the store, they have their own place, they do it right there and take good care of you. So remember, primesportsmw.com, get yourself outfitted over there, and tell Rick that YBM sent you, okay? Appreciate that.
I like your new logo, by the way, Brian. It's sharp.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, well done.
At some
You didn't design that, did you?
Yeah. Yes, I did.
Very good.
Thank you very much. Yes, we did. And, thank you. I just want to say, it was something I was looking at what we had, and I was like, we're grown. This is our 6th year with YBM, and I thought, we got to go more classic baseball. We're showing some maturity, growing up a little bit. Got guys like Kevin hanging around us, so we got to show like we know what we're talking about at least.
Got to step it up with the gurus in the
That's right.
studio.
That's right. And so, we had to do that. So thank you very much. I do appreciate that. And logo talks about who you are, right?
As far as the company or myself?
All of it, right? It talks about who you are. It's Ace. Yeah. You got the Ace right there. Ball going through it.
That's a nice, clean logo. I like
that
is. Too.
It's gone through a couple different changes itself.
Has it?
I think we'll stick with this one. I'm all
it
for
costs
change.
Too much to change it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And it takes too much time out of my day. So I keep it simple. But I'm Adam Jansen. I grew up in Pacific, Missouri. Went to Pacific High School. Played with Kevin at Forest Park Community College back when they had a team, and then transferred to Xavier. Played 2 years there. Mm-hmm. I was a member of the Gateway Grizzlies in 2003. Went to spring training in 2004 with the single A club. Got hurt, got released, and started teaching. Never thought I would get this deep into the teaching, but it kind of fell into my lap, Don't forget to mix in change-ups, boys. Jackson, when you get right here, think about the hips going first. Hips. Good. Good, Connor. That's good. Sometimes you get here and you come out of it early. You're actually holding it now. Good. Does that feel loose? It's good. Just make sure that pelvis is in a good position. You're not getting out of here too much. Hey, that was it. The fastball arm slot, yeah, that was perfect. And if you think about this too, if it drops, you're more likely to work east to west. If you keep it here, now you're out over your front leg a lot more. And it's good you can feel that too. Connor, as soon as it drops, bring it up. Guys, when you're throwing those change-ups too, just make sure it's from the same arm slot as your fastball.
And I love the fact though that you do that. This is something that I think is, if sport is going to be your chosen profession, you want to move forward. We know 100%. We're all sitting here. I didn't get there. None of us got there. We tried. We worked hard at things and whatnot. But I love the fact that, the things that we learn and the things that we go through as young athletes or whatnot always should inform us of what it's going to take to be successful in whatever else we do in life.
Right.
Right?
Right.
100%. There's very few guys that get to call their own shot, meaning the Yachty career or the Albert Pujols or the Adam Wainwright. That's what makes those guys so special. In the time we're at with St. Louis Cardinal baseball right now is those guys are going to do that. Most big leaguers don't even get to decide when they have to stop playing. At some point you get told, unless you're a generational type guy like those three we just mentioned there.
Yeah. And if you're talking about, I'm going to bring these up because we got some video that we've been rolling through here because we watched these kids throw. And this one young man, Adam Hatchman, we've talked about him on the show. He's been here working with you. I personally have never seen in person other than at the ballpark, a professional ballpark. Never been in a setting like this, seen a kid at his age throw that hard. And that's a testament to him.
Right.
What does that say about his work ethic and what the opportunities that he's building for himself?
Oh, and he comes from a great background. I think his grandfather played the game. His dad played a little bit. And it all starts at home, I think. His parents have given him every opportunity to succeed. That they have his back 100%. But he's also put himself in that position, too, just staying dedicated to the process.
Yeah.
I think he finally understands how good he can be, but he also knows how much more is in there. His journey's hopefully a long one.
Yeah. And then on the other side of that, Kevin, you have a Seth Bennis who is getting there. He's in that low 90s range. Am I correct?
Yeah. And even last season he was, I think, 92
up to
or
93.
3. Yeah.
And here's a different journey. He's got a baseball family.
Yes, he does.
A professional baseball family.
He's got plenty of counsel at home.
Yeah,
doesn't he?
so
Yes.
I mean, those are two completely different situations, right?
Without a doubt, he's got a head start. He's got the baseball IQ. He's around it 24/7. And in fact, his dad and I talk a lot because I also learned from his dad and his uncles too because
Sure.
they've been there.
Right.
And it's one of those things where Dad can say it and be exactly right about everything he's saying, but it's Dad. But again, he's very blessed to have that backing of his family also, and he makes it easy on us because he came in with the work ethic, came in with the knowledge. It's a tweak there, tweak here, and he dedicates himself in all facets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin, when you're out, we're talking about Prep Baseball Report, you're scouting, you're looking. How have programs like ACE been beneficial to what you do throughout the state?
Yeah, I do a lot of outreach with the clubs, and there's so many specialized training programs, whether not just a club, hitting coaches, pitching guys, strength coaches, a lot of social media stuff so that you can see. It makes it easier to find guys, and quite honestly, it's exciting to follow because, I'm always the first one to say this. We put together rankings, and I hope people take those for what they are. They're somewhat important, but really they shouldn't mean overly amount to a kid. It's just hey, this is where things are right now today, according to one guy. They quickly change. Like right now, those are outdated because we did them in the fall, and there's a weight room over there. There's a weight room over in Kansas City, and kids are in there getting better and stronger. And I'm about to get into my time of year where I get to go see these kids in the late month of January throughout February as they get ready for their high school season. And there will be kids that will be significantly better than they were last spring or last summer because they dedicated themselves to a program like ACE or a number of the others. There's a lot of great.
There's many around this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of P3. There's Mach 1. The recruits have a good one. So there is a number of good throwing situations and hitting stations, and kids develop and they get a lot better, and it's fun. I was talking about this with a couple pro guys. This is the best draft class in the St. Louis area that we've had in quite some time, and I attribute to that to places like ACE and the clubs and the development there that is getting done with these players, because it just doesn't happen on its own.
Wow.
And like Kevin said, I mean, baseball's in such high demand in St. Louis, and I think that these kids are blessed to have the opportunity to train in, we have many, many good facilities around this area,
Sure.
and, clubs, training facilities, and I think the access they have in this area is as good as anywhere in the country as a whole.
That's something that I think we're seeing a little bit more of. And we've talked a little bit about this and where Missouri is as a state in beginning to compete on a national level. And I really think that is the key to it. If you're talking about, high-end talent, we're starting to see kids committing to Power 5. In that top 20 of your rankings, most of those kids are Power 5.
Yeah, right. And, I say this openly. I'm not hiding this at all. I love it when kids stay home. I want to see kids
Right.
sign at Mizzou, Missouri State, St. Louis U, SEMO. It's fun. Maryville, Lindenwood, one of the Jeffco or Merrimack. I always say Merrimack. St. Louis Community College, Crowder,
Old habits.
Webster University, Washington. There's some great schools in our state, and I just I'm leaving schools out. I shouldn't have named any. But what you do see in those rankings is you'll see, LSU just came and popped Brady Kellenbrink out of Parkway South. Arkansas, he'll come up and get their guys. Ole Miss will come commit guys.
Tennessee,
Tony Vitello's from the St. Louis area, DeSmet High School product. Tennessee's all over the state of Missouri. Kansas, they will come and get our kids out of our state, which is they're not doing this to be nice. They're doing this because they think that's beneficial to them. So there's a lot of talent in the Missouri area, and it's not really a secret at this point.
No. And we talk about this part of it. And when you're talking with athletes, it's tough because we know, we just saw some high-end Power 5 kids.
Right.
But when you're talking to these kids, how do you temper expectations and really let them develop before they start looking at what school they're going to?
That's our job. That's our hardest job is, like if a kid does commit, if a kid is doing great things, we have to stay on the gas. We have to keep pushing the details. In a way, it might sound kind of, they haven't done anything yet. We don't quite say it that way, but our job is to keep those guys on the gas and try to get as much out of them as we can. We're definitely proud of all of them.
Yeah.
But
Right.
we're always thinking one step ahead, trying to get those guys prepared.
Because one of the things that I'm very adamant about, one of the things that I really want to make sure that we maintain as far as I think is an integral part of what we do with our podcast. And it's something that is very important to me and we've discussed this, there's so many really good Division II programs in this state.
Yes, there is.
And I just don't want kids to put themselves in a position that doesn't fit them, or they think they're beyond something that they are ready to, and maybe they will be, but not necessarily ready to achieve right now.
Those
right?
discussions, I used to think they were difficult. I embrace them. I tell these guys, hey, these schools are talking to you, because you've done some good things. Just make sure you guys are, weighing the pros and the cons. Like if you go to a big-time school, you may not play day one.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with you. That's just kind of the way things go. But, we like to see those guys who choose a school that's the best fit for them. Obviously academics too. But yeah, we do have those conversations. We are very honest with our guys. Some like to hear it, some don't. But
you
absolutely have to. There's no other way.
And the recruiting process is sped up now, where you're seeing, the elite ninth graders commit, even a handful of eighth graders, but certainly by their sophomore year, the recruiting process is in full swing. And one of the potential traps to it, and I think it's all fine and well, as long as kids understand what it means. And it just means right now, today, they project you're going to be good enough to play at that school. But here's one thing. Even if, let's say, the rankings are dead accurate, 100%, and the number one player in the state of Missouri is a freshman and a sophomore, those top 5 players are legitimately the top 5 players. None of them are good enough to play at those schools they're signed at today. Right. They need to get a heck of a lot better before they get to campus to be able to help that school out. So just because you're committed to Big School U as a freshman or a sophomore, that really just means you need to start working even harder, because there's lots of expectations, and now you have a target on your back. So I've seen some kids handle it phenomenally, like a Seth Bennis and Adam Hatchman, and I've seen others kind of regress, and then, it doesn't always work out for that player. So it can be a bit of a trap But hopefully, if the player's surrounded by good people, that they hear what they need to hear, not what they want to hear, and they're in the right spot when it matters, and that's when they get to their final destination of school or pro ball.
I want to finish up the conversation with this. I know you guys got a lot going on, but I think it's interesting what you touched on here with this. I've always been a student of watching how things progress, what happens. At the highest level of sport, these are the most talented people there are. And not everybody wins. There's still guys that are, 4-20.
Right.
Last year I think there was a baseball, one of the major league teams won 50 games, right?
Right. Oh, yeah.
So what's the difference here? And
Well,
I think this is the toughest thing to talk to kids about, and we've touched on it in a few different things, it is the mental attitude of the individual and what they're willing to do, because once the talent reaches that pinnacle, there's only one thing left that you can sharpen.
Right.
Not that you can't sharpen your skills and keep them up and what. I understand you can always but at some point there's that pinnacle, but it's the mental edge and how you compete and how you go about your business
Right.
every day. And when you were talking about the colleges, if you're pegged by Mizzou as a freshman, you might have 20 other guys in that class. You're competing against those
Without a
20
doubt.
other guys because we all know there's only so many scholarships, right?
Oh, right. I
So-
think number one, people need to understand this game is very, very hard. It's very, very hard to climb the ladder, stick there, have success. I think one of the biggest things is consistency. All these guys at a certain point have the talent. It's staying consistent with everything. It's not just their throwing program, not just the strength training program. It's what they do off the field. Are they a good teammate? It is very, very difficult even to make the varsity team and be an impact player.
Right.
Any college they go to, I don't care what level, that grind, that day after day, waking up, doing the same thing, going to class, going to practice, going to game. It's not always fun.
Yeah.
It's having the passion, to play the game the right way, but then also, do whatever it takes to get to the next level as far as work ethic goes. And just, again, I always say the details. Those guys that, can pay attention to the details and not get bored, not get burnt out, and wake up every day like they have something to prove, I think is one of the biggest things,
It's not an easy thing. It really isn't. I
Right.
think that's the toughest thing that I think is getting the mind right. Because as I always like to say, the body follows the mind. Right?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
You're right. It
Yeah,
does,
oh,
doesn't
without
it?
a doubt.
If the mind ain't right, the body's not working
Right.
right, is it?
Right.
And that's one of your biggest deals here is movement and the
Yep.
ability to move. And if you aren't putting yourself in that mental framework,
Oh,
it doesn't work, does
we
it?
talk all the time about, making sure these guys understand what's expected of them outside of here.
Yeah.
Throwing more than 3 days a week, making sure you guys are on top of your lifting, you're sleeping, all that kind of stuff. But that's, trying to get the mind right, especially on your bad days. One of our things is, like they have a bad day, they want to start changing. No, you're a human being. You're going to have bad days.
Right.
You have to understand, when to tweak things and when to just wake up the next day and start over.
One of my favorite lines is, "Are you so bad that you have to feel good to be good?" Like, you should be able to perform without feeling 100%, because how many days are you going to feel 100%? Opening day, maybe?
Oh, that's
how often
as
does
a
your arm
pitcher
feel
especially?
good?
Oh, never.
No, you're not
Still
going to.
doesn't. Yeah. Oh, it's.
Right.
I remember Justin, who pitched up at Hannibal LaGrange, it's my son. He told me that last season he took 4 ibuprofen and rubbed his arm down with Tiger Balm before every start because
That's all he
it
did?
just
That's it.
just hurt. and then it would just hurt. That
Oh
was,
yeah, that was my
It just
entire
hurt.
college career and pro career. Oh yeah.
And so what are you going to do? And
Right.
that's what he did. He just said, you power through and you get there, and at some point you're not thinking about the pain anymore. You
Right.
just go out and pitch.
Without a doubt.
And
Yep.
I think and it's an interesting dynamic. It really is. So, man, thanks for the invite.
Oh, thanks for having us. It's amazing. You guys do great work, and we appreciate everything you guys do for St. Louis and baseball.
Appreciate it very much. We'll have to come back out next year. Anytime, as I always told you, anytime, let's get you on the show, talk baseball.
Definitely love to. I appreciate it.
And as always, Kevin Mulder, you're going to see him out there. Make sure you're following him on Instagram, Twitter, PBR Missouri, and PBR underscore Mulder. Excuse me.
Yeah.
PBR underscore Mulder. I had to think about it. So you can follow him there. Check out Ace Baseball Development. Get on the website, acebaseballdevelopment.com.
Yes.
There it is. Guys, as always, thanks. Appreciate your time. And everybody, thanks for tuning in. If you like what we're doing, please hit the subscribe button. Like it. Comment down below. Tell us what you think about what we talked about today. We appreciate all the comments, even if they're not good. I'll take it. It's what we do. It's what we do. But hit that like button and share it out with your friends. Everybody, have a great day in the Lord. Always remember, pitchers, keep throwing strikes, right? Got to throw strikes.
Oh, without a doubt.
Right?
Without
Even
a
if
doubt.
they hit it, right? Throw a strike.
Give yourself a chance. Yeah.
I like that. Give yourself a chance. You might throw a ground ball.
There you go.
Yep.
Hitters,
Hit them where they ain't.
it's good advice. We'll see y'all next time.